I've been messing around with digital saxophones for over 20 years now, and I've owned most of these instruments that have been made in that time. In this video, I'm going to compare three of the most popular digital wind instruments: the YDS-120, the Roland Aerafone AE20, and the Treble Sachs 2. People ask me which one of these they should buy just about every day, so here are my thoughts. I hope they help you with your decision. Each of these has strengths and weaknesses, and the best choice for you really depends on what you want to do with it. Let's start with the Roland Aerafone. I really liked this instrument when it first came out because it was the most saxophone-like compared to things that were already out there like the Akai Iwi, which is kind of its own thing. All three of these instruments mimic the key layout of the saxophone. So if you play the saxophone, you'll know right away where to put your fingers and how to play the notes. The Aerophone AE20 comes with a nice collection of onboard sounds. There are over 250 of them, most of which you would probably never use, of course, but I think most people will be able to find a few that they like and be able to work with those. It has emulations of real instruments like saxophone, trumpet, and flute. These are not going to be good enough to fool a trained ear, or even an untrained ear in most cases. The synth sounds are pretty good though, and personally I tend to stick with those. It takes AA batteries and can also be played while plugged in to an outlet, which is convenient. I like that it has a 1/4-inch jack output, which makes it the most performance-friendly of the three. You could just play this on a gig with some batteries and a standard cable plugged into the board or your amplifier. This is the only one of the three with a bite sensor as well. The bite sensor allows you to bend the pitch with your mouth by applying different amounts of pressure to the plastic reed. I used to think this was important, but after spending a lot of time with digital saxophones that don't have this feature, I realized that I almost never used it anyway, and I don't miss it. Not only that, this pseudo mouthpiece with the plastic reed is not as comfortable as just blowing into a tube with rounded edges. I do find the Aerophone very easy to play, and it's responsive, meaning the notes come out when I expect them to come out. It's very accurate as well. What I mean by that is I don't have an issue with glitches. Glitches are when you expect one note to sound, but you get something else. The Aerophone AE20 plays pretty glitch-free. There is an internal speaker, which is nice, so you can pick it up and hear yourself playing without headphones. The Yamaha and Treble Sachs also have this feature. It also has Bluetooth connectivity, so I can connect to my phone or tablet and have music or backing tracks playing through the instrument and coming out of the headphones. This would be my primary usage for one of these. I used to take this and also an Akai Iwi with me to gigs on occasion. But I never really loved the results I got, and I just prefer to play a real saxophone in live performances now. Having said that, if you need a digital wind instrument for performances, out of these three, the Roland would be your best bet by far, in my opinion. At the time of filming this, the AE20 is on sale at Sweetwater for $200 off, making the price $699. I'll put links to everything in the description. Now let's move on to the Yamaha YDS-120. One area where it beats the Aerophone is the keywork, sort of. The Aerophone has these buttons that are actually quite noisy and just aren't very satisfying to press. On a real saxophone, each key travels a certain distance when you press it, and the YDS-120 does a pretty good job of replicating that feeling, so saxophone players will feel even more at home with this keywork. Mine is really squeaky though. And I think that noise is even more annoying than the loud clacking of the Aerophone. The onboard sounds are pretty lacking, and none of them are really performance worthy, in my opinion. I would only recommend this instrument as a practice tool. However, I have some issues with the Yamaha YDS-120. First, there is no Bluetooth capability, so you would have to play your music or backing tracks through a wired connection, which is not ideal. The other major issue I have are the glitches. This is super glitchy for me, to the point of making it just not fun to play. Super glitchy. Now, if you're someone who may not need to ever play any fast passages, maybe you would notice. Or if you squeeze the keys pretty hard, you might not notice either. But if you're like me and play with a light touch, this doesn't always register all the fingers that are down, which means that notes just don't sound, and it's super annoying. I know there are a lot of people out there who have one of these and love them. I'm not one of them. The only thing the YDS-120 has going for it compared to the other two, in my opinion, is the lower price. Right now, this one is also on sale at Sweetwater for $50 off, which brings the price down to $450. I think that beginner or intermediate players who have a limited budget and just want a quiet practice tool for home use will enjoy this. And finally, we have the Treble Sachs 2. This one has become my most used digital saxophone, mainly because it fits what I need from an electronic wind instrument right now in my life. I am in the fortunate situation that I could practice a real saxophone in my home studio whenever I want, whatever time of day, except when I'm traveling. While the Treble Sachs 2 might look like the least impressive one out of the three, it actually ticks all the boxes that are important to me for my needs. The sounds are terrible. They're basic MIDI, and there's only a few of them to choose from, but this is actually, in a weird way, a kind of strength. The sounds on these devices used to be really important to me when I was wanting to play them for other people. But with this, I know I'm only using it to practice, and nobody's going to hear it but me. Playing this has made me realize that the other sounds on the other instruments are mainly a distraction unless you are performing. As a practice tool, we should just have a basic sound that isn't annoying and get to work. That's what I'm able to do with the Treble Sachs 2. I've spent literally 0 minutes switching between sounds. I just play the default saxophone sound and I'm good. The keys are just like on a saxophone, only reduced down to a smaller size. They feel pretty comfortable. And because of the metal springs it has, they also feel kind of satisfying to play. For me, this one feels the most natural out of the three. It also has Bluetooth connectivity, so all I need is a pair of wired headphones, and I'm ready to practice with my various apps and music and backing tracks. It has a rechargeable battery, which is awesome. I don't know how long it lasts, but it's definitely longer than I would ever spend practicing. Like the Yamaha, there is no bite sensor, and that is totally fine with me. It does have an app on the phone that actually works, so you can change the sounds, program fingerings, and change the transposition with that pretty easily. The best part about the Treble Sachs 2 is the size. I am bringing this with me on every trip I take, so several times a year. It doesn't take up too much space in the suitcase, and I'm always glad that I have it when I'm on the road. I love the minimalist design. It just has a power button and a USB-C port. That simplicity makes it an even better practice tool, in my opinion. No distractions with sounds, effects, or gimmicks. Now, because it is so small, I find it to be absolutely necessary to use these attachments, which make it much more comfortable to play. So now I'm holding here rather than, all the way up here. Here's my conclusion. If you're looking for a performance instrument that is also great to practice on, the Aerophone AE20 would be my pick out of the three. With the current discount from Sweetwater, it's a pretty good deal. If you want a distraction-free practice tool that feels very natural under the fingers and is great for traveling, the Treble Sachs 2 is the best choice for you. If you just don't want to spend too much money and you're not too picky about the responsiveness or having a high-level performance, go with the Yamaha YDS-120. But I would recommend spending a bit more if you can to get either the Roland or the Treble Sachs. I prefer both of those to this. Now, there is another category of wind synth that's on an entirely different level than these three, and that's the EMEO, which is essentially a hybrid saxophone. I'm a huge fan, but it is in a different price category. Definitely check out my review video here, as it might be exactly the thing you're looking for.